Hey up YouTube. So in this video today I'm going to have a chat with you about if I had my time again, what would I do differently. So if I could go back to the end of the first lockdown and when I was starting my business and I've still got this knowledge now, what would I do differently? Not what I would say, but what would I do differently. So let's get on with it then. So I'm hoping this video will be helpful, because if people are thinking of starting a business, I think what I did wrong and what I could do to what I'd do differently is helpful, because I've made the mistakes, there's been problems, so I'm going to go through a few of them. So what I would do is, I think the first one, my sort of big stumbling block back then was confidence. I am a quite confident person, but when it comes to payment, it was a bit thingy, and that led me to sort of been pushed over and been walked over a little bit. Not much, but the likes of like Brenda. So I wish now, a little bit more confidence. My main stumbling block was I used to think the customer won't pay this, the customer won't be able to afford this, the customer won't like that price. And the reality is, it doesn't matter if it comes to that price, it's that price. If a customer has got a great big manor house and it's got 10 meters of a metre high hedge and they want it doing, and then the next door neighbour is in an end terrace house and it's got the exact same hedge, well, is that price going to be different? No, it isn't. It's the exact same hedge, the amount, same work, next door to each other. That price will be the same. So you need to get that away from that. You can't sort of think, you can't think a customer will go, well, next door's paying 150, but they're in a huge house, I should be paying 50. No, everybody gets the same price. And for me as well, I fussed over the little shit jobs. When you first start out, you haven't won any work, you haven't won any jobs, but it's not a race to win the jobs, to get the work. Don't compromise on your price, your quality, your reputation just to get a job. In many ways, have your first knockback before you have your first yes, because working for somebody where you're underpaid and undervalued will chip away at you a lot more than just getting that. No, too much, thank you for coming. Don't believe what they say. I had it when I first started, and again, my advice to you, don't tell people you're just starting your business. They don't need to know. Don't say, oh yeah, it's my first week, it's my first job, you're my first customer. Don't tell them anything, because my experience, they take that for granted. They take advantage of that. Oh, I'm your first customer, all that sort of stuff. Loyalty. Oh well, just because you're just starting out, we'll give you a chance. You can charge us. We'll pay you this much. They're brokering the deal because I'm just starting out. So they're taking advantage of me because I'm just starting out. And it's, don't say anything. It's up to you. If you've never done a job before, and just explain to them, I'm not well up on pruning this tree, I'm not well up on that. Don't try and bullshit it, but if you're experienced, as I said, it's, to me, I find people take advantage of it. The flip side though, I did give people did give me the opportunity. I had customers where they said, oh yes, you can do this, you can do that for me, we'll try and help you get your business going. But like I said, people can take advantage. Kit wise, I would say the thing that I did was when I very first started, I bought the cheapest kit I could and tried to get along with it. I bought second hand, and then when I first started getting into it, but with having to use my tools for work, I quickly went on to the combi system, and for me that was the game changer. Is invest in good quality kit. Invest in kit that will give you the longevity. So for me, the combi kit, in all fairness, has stood the test of time. I've still got all the attachments, they still work. The only thing I've changed is the engines. I went from the KM94 to the KM130R to the whatever the combi is now, KM135R. I've still got the same attachments, I still use the same strimming head, I still use the same brush cutter hedge. It's all the same because it's lasted. Is it because it's still? Maybe. Is it because I look after my stuff? Probably not. You know, but buy the best you can afford. Even with hand tools, I just faffed around buying shitty hand tools and it's just pointless. Get the best you can afford. Wolfgarten is another one. I wish now I'd have gotten into that a lot sooner. I used to carry a hoe, a rake, you know, you name it, I used to carry it all, and it was just a ball ache. It was just, you know, there was poles everywhere, and it was just a real sort of faff. Get into the Wolfgarten system as soon as you can. Like I said, I'm putting myself into it as in 2019 whenever I went self-employed. So the battery stuff wasn't as popular, or there wasn't as much variety back then. It's amazing how much different stuff has come out in not a long space of time. But what I'm saying is don't sort of think, oh, should I go put battery? You need to think about it. I would always say, if you go battery, probably when you first start is the time, because you can start off with 2 batteries, 3 batteries, and as you start running out or feeling you're going to run out, you can buy another battery. The biggest one though is the mower, so that's the next one. Hindsight is what it is. I wish now I'd have said to myself, buy a still mower, buy the still roller mower, because I listened to the dealer. Well, I followed what I thought was good advice, which is always look at what dealer network you've got and speak to that dealer network and see what they, you know, what they recommend, what they don't. You know, if they repair a lot of a certain mower, don't get that mower. You know, liaise with your dealer. And I went in and I says to him, you know, what I do, and this bloke, this is the shit dealer that I've moaned about in, God, it's about 2 years ago, when I first started YouTube actually. Moaned about him because he was just they've struck him off now. He's not a still dealer anymore, they've booted him, so that says it all. But he was like, oh yes, Mountfield, British made, all that, you know. And then the one he sold me, it was the top one, and he said it was a direct. He said his words were, it's a hands for hand copy of the professional Honda one, which is normally 1,300 quid, and this one's 600 quid and all this. And to be fair, it wasn't a bad mower, but it was terrible in the wet, you know, and it was a 21-inch mower, and you know, it's a lot of mower for somebody that, in all fairness, can cope just fine with a 17-inch, 19-inch even mower. I think a large mower can cut a lot of grass, don't get me wrong, and you know, to a point, you know, medium lawns, it'll just eat it up really quickly. But I think 17-inch or a 19-inch cut mower can be just as better. You know, you're not losing much in terms of speed on the bigger size lawns, but what you are gaining is, if you're doing small to medium, you've got that manoeuvrability. And also, when I first started, I had a Connect. No, I didn't, telling a lie, I had the Vivaro back then. I used to have a Connect, and it used to take up a lot of room. Oddly enough though, when I had the Connect, I used to, this is this is when I was first dipping my toes into the world of gardening, I had a Toro Time Master, and again, that was monkey see, monkey want. Don't get me wrong, I did end up buying it at a really good price, and I did end up making money on it. You know, it was one of those eBay deals where, I don't know, nobody had bid on it, or a couple had, whatever, I bid on it and I got it for a lot less than it's actually worth, and I did use it for a bit and then I sold it. So I did end up sort of making, you know, in air quotes, profit off it. But you know, that's like pre-SGM days. So as I said, have a sort of think about kit. It is true, look at what dealer networks you've got near to you. There's no point going out and thinking, right, I'll buy an Artesia, and there's no Artesia dealers near to you. Yes, a company will sell it to you online, to drop it off on a pallet, but do you want to pallet it up and send it back to them if there's a repair? It could be ages before you get it back and expensive. Some people might be willing to do that. Me personally, I try and stick with what I've got around me. The next one, and I'm going to leave this one till last, is customers. Now, customers are, back then, I'm sure I worked for good people, but at the top of my head, I can only remember working for terrible people. Brenda, that miserable old bag, the Golden Promise story woman, and you know, and other people. It's just, I remember I went and did a quote, and this lady wanted a hedge reduction, and it was, in my opinion, very straightforward. It was the hedge trimmer, and it was only a thin hedge. I think I could have done it in one pass to get it downish, and then go and just nip a little bit off with the secateurs. And I'll be honest with you, I reflected down on the price, because I thought, right, cut it in half, and then it'll be in one piece, roll it up, put it in the van, jobs are good. And I think I went in at something, knowing me back then, and this was one of my first price jobs, whereas, and I'll talk about pricing jobs in a bit, whereas it was like 40 quid, you know, something low. And I remember the look on this woman's face. She actually asked me to repeat myself, and she says, is it because I'm old? I was like, oh, what's that? She said, you're trying to have it on with me, aren't you? I says, sorry. Is it because I'm an OAP? You think you can get away with ripping me off? I was thinking, fucking hell. And looking back at it and trying to remember the ins and outs, I think even back then it was a bloody good anyway. So you can't keep everybody happy, can you? But back then, when you got feedback like that when you're first starting out, I must admit it bloody hurt, you know, it did knock you. So what I'd tell myself again is, don't be afraid of these knockbacks. Give them the price, you know, give them the quote. This is why I, again, rightly or wrongly, I give them the price there and then. Some people give it them later on or get back to them. I just give it there and then, and maybe, you know, but then again, I still think she'd have done the same. And yeah, I think as well, not to focus on and not to get upset by customers like that. As I said, I think it's better for you to have your first knockback than your first, you know, horrible customer that you've worked for 6 months, when in reality you would have been better off charging what you wanted to charge and then getting a knockback. Like I said, it's all very sort of, it's hard, it really is. And I think that's another thing as well that I'd tell myself. This industry can be really, really hard. It can be very hard, it can be very daunting, very physically challenging, very mentally challenging as well, very draining. But anyway, so the next thing as well is pricing. My first year I charged, well, the sort of the pre-SGM days I was charging £15 an hour. I carried that over with some regular customers. New customers I charged £17.50, and then I quickly realised as well that that's not enough, so it went to 20. I had it in my head, a brainwave, to keep it simple for me and simple for the customer, was give them a fixed price for everything. So if they wanted the hedges cut, that was £20 an hour. If you wanted the lawns cut, £20 an hour. You get the impression. If you wanted the borders doing, £20 an hour. Did it work? It did. in a way, it's helped me to build my business. It's helped me to get me, you know, work. It's helped me to get plenty of these stories of people. You know, I think to myself, and I'm looking at it through my opinion, so it could be very slanted, but I think they've got a gardener that's come into their house with the best possible kit that he can get, and you know, and good for, you know, I can't think there's much higher. He puts every penny he can back into his business. He turns up on time. He does the best job he can, you know, and he's doing it all for £20 an hour. And you can, you know, a hedge, you can cut a lot of hedges in an hour. That's all I'm saying. I knew after the fact that I was fucking myself, and you know, now were people appreciative of that? Did they realise that? No. Did people say, oh, I'm getting a good deal here? No. There were still people, you know, my last gardener. I was talking to a bloke in my local area, and he's a gardener, and I like him, but I don't like him. He's one of them where he complains to me about the problems he's got, and he was saying that he says he charges £15 an hour, and he says he still gets people knocking him down on £15 an hour. Oh, my last gardener was 10. Could you meet in the middle? And I think in this day and age, in reality, £2.50, yes, it's a loaf of bread and a bit of veg, but in the grand scheme of things, it's fuck all. So yeah, so he's getting knocked back on that. So it just goes to show, you know, and I did try and explain to him that I was charging £15 an hour when I started, but anyway, so here's another story. So like I said, pricing, I would tell myself to still charge an hourly rate when you first start, but cap it at 5 customers. You know, try and get as much variety as you can out of them 5 customers, but after you hit 5, charge everybody a fixed price. For me, I got used to it, I got lazy, you got comfortable, you're like, oh well, I know where I'm at and all that. And in reality, it's good in the short term, but for somebody like me who wants to push my business and push myself and get myself to, you know, where it's the best it can be, in reality it just ballses everything up and just makes it so where it holds you back. The old hourly structure, what I learned this not recently, but you know, last few years, a customer, if you charge them £15, £20 an hour, they'll look at you like you're an idiot. But if you say, yeah, it'll be £20 for that lawn, and it takes you 30 minutes, they're as happy as a clam. And what's the difference really? Is it ignorance because they're not thinking, oh, he's doing that grass? Do they not clock watch? I don't know. But I think overall, this is a little finisher here, I would just tell myself to enjoy what you do, keep enjoying it, but don't let things get out of hand, especially with customers or any situation. If a situation starts getting where it's not enjoyable, it's not worth it, you know, or people are having you over, just tell them. I had it with that dealer where he was, you know, blatantly lying to my face, and for me now, I should have just gone and nipped it in the bud there and then. I've had it with customers where they've just tried it on and on and on, always pushing, always trying to get something extra, you know. There's even been a couple this year that have been like that, and it's hard to not to treat everybody the same way, but sometimes with how people are, if you see that the writing's on the wall, you need to just walk away and say to them that you can't garden for them, or basically fuck them off, make your excuses, because they won't change, and they want you to change, and they want you to compromise, they want you to take the hit, you be out of money, you out of pocket, when it shouldn't be like that. I think we should all work together, and I say this to my gardening customers, you know, I fundamentally, and I'll say it to you, we're here to make as much money as we can. Yes, there'll be people out there that will be doing this for enjoyment, you know, they'll take early retirement and then they'll do it, but money is the only metric that you've got. And if a bloke goes in and puts in the graft all day and he gets a tenner off a customer, and this bloke's, you know, he's worked a full-time job, you know, whatever, ex-police, ex-army, ex-factory worker, you know, he's put in the time to get his equipment, you know, he loves his job, he's passionate about his, you know, gardens, but yet somebody who, with whatever background, can do the exact same work as him and earn £25 for the same amount of grass, and that customer would be happy. Well, why wouldn't you take that little bit extra? Why wouldn't you have that bit more, expect that bit more, ask for that more? Because money, as horrible as it sounds, that's the metric you need to go off. I say this to people where, you know, I've done it in the past where I've done jobs for free, worked for free, and it's fine. But if that customer then screws you over or shits on you, you know, don't want you coming anymore, or, you know, whatever, it's you that's sort of left with, you know, thinking, well, you know, I wish now I would have charged, I would have done that, because at least you would have got a return, or, you know, a thanks button, payment form. Like I said, it is very hard in this industry. It's very hard, it's very difficult, it's very unforgiving, but it is rewarding, it is enjoyable, and like I said, I enjoy it, I really do enjoy it. But as I said, it is hard, but have a good day, guys. As usual, keep on gardening.